Hey there, welcome to another edition of Vegas Bad Boys of Podcasting. DJ Impact here with Sin City Steve, and we got Simon Street with us via telefono.
Hello.
Yes. And welcome to Three Count. Man, we got three good stories for all of you. We don't have Matt Michaels with us. He is out and about. It's the best way of putting it. MIA.
On assignment.
On assignment. Yes, that's right.
Did he ever come back from San Juan?
Ooh.
Boy,
I don't think we can talk about that on air.
Right.
Oh, we can't? Oh, okay.
And
we need to call our boy Savio Vega to help him get back home.
I would. Man. By the way, I mean, we mentioned Savio on Wrestling Talk, but no one mentioned Carlito? Come on. That was exciting.
Hey, he's not cool. He's not cool.
He spit in the face.
You know he's trying to get a payday. You know he's trying to get a WWE contract. He's a body guy now. So
he definitely is.
All right. Whatever works.
Bring him in. Fuck it. Put him with LWO.
Yeah. Yeah. Why not?
Why not?
All right, y'all.
They need to do something. They're booked as losers. Sheesh.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about they're losers, but they're losing all the time.
Right. No, I got you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, y'all. This is Three Count. Three good stories. And thanks for watching us. YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch live. Throw all your comments in the box. We'll try to get it in as we see fit. All right. So let's get it started. It's time. Vegas Bad Boys of Podcasting present
1, 2, 3.
Count Talk.
Count Talk, baby.
All right. So here is our count one. And it is a huge update on Drew McIntyre's WWE future and backstage frustration from ITR, I guess for InTheRingWrestling.com. So
Inside the ropes.
Oh. I just came up with my own website.
Inside the ropes.
Thank you.
Love it. Your own website.
You know what? That's what it's funny when you see now all the different letters when people type stuff out on text message. I'm always trying to guess what they are. Most of the time I'm right, but you know, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. The sad thing is the site is right here in front of me. Anyway, let's get right into the story. It says that the Scottish Star contract has less than a year to run, and he and WWE are reportedly some distance apart when it comes to agreeing to new terms. Now, meanwhile, a further report stated that McIntyre was unhappy with money and creative. Now, to add more fuel to the fire, has been reported that there is a, quote, good chance, end quote, that the star will leave the company. A new report from Fightful Select has now attempted to add more details to the situation, including confirmation that McIntyre will become a free agent in early 2024. Now, with regard to speculation that the former world champion is leaning towards leaving the company, Fightful notes that it's more of a case of him not knowing what comes next. If, quote, things aren't working for both sides, end quote, McIntyre is said to be open to exploring his options, but will leave the door open for a return in the future. Now, McIntyre has been working banged up, but was reportedly adamant that he would compete at WrestleMania 39 and put Gunther over. However, there are said to have been, quote, several, end quote, situations where the star hasn't been on the same page as WWE and has become frustrated. And McIntyre is usually aware of his plans for the draft, but wasn't told that he was moving to Raw until it was announced on television. Now, there's been, quote, several perceived communications, end quote, between McIntyre and WWE in the last couple of years. Now, McIntyre is known to be hands-on when it comes to creative, and there's been pitches for him to turn heel. However, he is, quote, adamant, and quote, that he will only do so if creatively makes sense. Now, in addition, many talents are unsure how WWE's deal with Endeavor will affect them, but the company has taken a, quote, different approach, end quote, to contract renewals in the last couple of years. Now, Drew McIntyre is also removed from the Money in the Bank advertisement. It said it hasn't wrestled in his match with Gunther and Sheamus Since WrestleMania 39 and with his future uncertain, McIntyre has been removed from advertising for Money in the Bank, and the move has come as a major surprise as the show is being held in London, England, as McIntyre is WWE's biggest British star. Sin City Steve, this is your story, man. I didn't know all this was taking place. Matt Michaels, I'm sure will be happy because he thinks the guy is useless, but I like Drew.
I'll be honest. I submitted this story with the hopes that we were going to get Michaels here and he was going to be, watching you read that with just this shit-eating grin on his face.
Right.
But I think it's pretty safe to say, speaking on behalf of the All Elite delegation, we would welcome Drew McIntyre or Drew Galloway with wide open arms. Believe me.
That would be a huge, yeah.
That would be massive, dude. That would be absolutely massive. And keep in mind, let's call it what it is. All In is August 27th. His contract is going to be up before then.
Okay. Wow.
So do you debut Drew at All In front of 80,000?
I mean, because I'm still kind of
if they're smart, they announce the signing before the show, though.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So that you could fill that venue.
Sure.
But yeah, if you have Punk on the show and you have Galloway or McIntyre on the show, come on.
Right.
Yeah, it's insane. And the thing that really kind of stood out to me is, they're not even putting him in the same breath as anybody who's worth anything. Keep in mind, WWE announced the 12 competitors that are going to be part of the WWE World Heavyweight Championship tournament.
Right.
That's going to happen this week on Raw and SmackDown. For Raw, you've got Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Damian Priest, The Miz, Cody Rhodes, and Shinsuke Nakamura. From SmackDown, you're going to have Edge, AJ Styles, Bobby Lashley, Austin Theory, Rey Mysterio, and Sheamus. So he's not even in the same echelon as any of those names.
I wonder what the major issue is. Is he really just that fed up with supposedly creative?
So the thing that I think really does get lost in the shuffle is this. We've all talked about how the Bloodline storyline is the best storyline that WWE has had in decades, which quite frankly, it has been. However, whenever you have two champions consolidated to one, and that deprives a main event spot of a champion on another brand, let's put it this way too. I'm sure that Drew isn't exactly enthused that Roman's had a 3-year title reign, especially when Drew carried the men's division. Drew and Bobby Lashley carried the men's division through the pandemic, one of the darkest times that we will see in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
And now for him to not even be mentioned in the same breath as people for those top spots, come on, man, that's fucking disgusting. That's absolutely fucking disgusting. The guy can draw. He's a great worker. He's charismatic as shit. Come on, man. I don't get it. I genuinely don't understand. So I feel his pain. I understand why he's frustrated.
But is WWE making these moves because has he been offered the contract and he just hasn't signed it?
I don't know.
Because I'm just confused.
Based on the context of this article, it leads me to believe that he has been given some form of a contract,
right?
But whether it's money or creative that's happened recently, like I said, over the last 3 years, I mean, I could see why he's not signing a deal to stay with this company long term, especially now that there is an alternative.
Well, I tell you what, I mean, we all know, like Tony could match whatever the amount that he was giving, but when it comes to creativity, unless Tony just gonna give him all free will with that, I mean, I guess the question is what is he looking? What creativity is he looking for his character? Is it the fact? I mean, you mentioned, the idea of Roman having the belt for 3 years. Is it that he wants to be back at that level?
I
mean,
wouldn't see why he wouldn't be back at that level.
but
He's somebody that should consistently be in your main event.
Let me go over to you, Simon Street. What was your take when you heard about this whole thing with Drew McIntyre?
Oh, I think I wouldn't say it's spot on, but I definitely would say it's in the ballpark. I know that there's been maybe not so much talk about him being upset with creative, but that he hasn't made a clear declaration that he will re-sign with WWE. So that leads me to believe that there is some merit to this article, or at least the conversation of him possibly leaving. Now, it is no secret, as was mentioned earlier, that Roman Reigns having both titles wrapped up tight, and we all know that it is an agenda, and I'm going to call it that, of the WWE to ride this out, whether he surpasses Hogan's record or he surpasses the first reign of Bruno Sammartino. He probably did he touch Bob Backlund yet? He ain't even close to Bob Backlund, right? So again, these are things to where, as I just mentioned to y'all, other people are probably feeling like, okay, great, you're doing a world heavyweight title or new championship, right? But is that the one that is the pinnacle of the product? That's what has not been decided. We've had this title before, and let's be completely honest, although it was prestigious, it was not held as the pinnacle. It just wasn't. Now, that's on the one side of it. My other side that I think of too is as much as Drew McIntyre or Drew Gallo would actually be a draw at AEW, you're basically going in the same pond of where you currently are at now. I see you going to AEW. Yeah, they'll launch you to the moon, but not to the stars. And it's much in the same as WWE. So you're gonna have your pros and cons, right? Now money wise? I think Tony, you can negotiate with Tony. He will cut you a better cut of the pie. But as far as getting booked, we all know the woes of AEW, and it all lies to having too many stars in the pond, and they ain't figured out that recipe just yet. You get what I'm saying? And you say Punk's about to come back? Come on, man. You can't even share a shadow with CM Punk. And I'm not trying to disrespect dude. I'm just being real. Am I being real, Sin City? Am I being real?
You're being real, but once Collision is unveiled and they actually announce the show, then I think that's going to do a lot, because that'll give you 2 more hours with which to showcase talent.
Okay, which would be great. I mean, like I said, I hope for the best of where he goes. I do think he is a draw. I do think that he definitely is way better than a lot of other people give him credit for on his promos. He's able to go off the fly. He does have a great sense of humor, and but I do think that for me, if he were to come up to me, not that it would ever happen, but hypothetically, he said, "Hey, Simon Street, what do you think I can do?" That's my Drew McIntyre accent.
Yeah.
I would tell him, like, look, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. Most of the WWE fans that I ever talked to know that, okay, when this Roman thing is done, you're one of the first of 5 names to come up for chasing the major title belt, and that we don't mind because you earned the right during the pandemic that kept us watching in a dark time. And I don't think WWE forgot that. I know right now they have their eyes set on whatever direction they're doing with Roman, but you're one of the top. You, Lashley, Brock Lesnar, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins. There you go. These are names that immediately pop in our registered brain of who's going to get the title next when Roman goes either Hollywood or takes a hiatus. Don't forget that. Not saying you can't have success in AEW. They'll treat you right. But at the end of the day, that's a whole different ball game. Go for what you know is what I would say.
Let me say this, and we could jump over to count two. I think that when you work, if you get in with WWE, or to be honest with you, when you get in with any company, uh, I just think you should just enjoy doing what you do and do it very well and help build your character up. And in terms of who wants to be champion or not, that's as talent, that's not your decision. And as much as you may really want to be that, and as much as they, would tell us as the WWE universe that is what everybody wants, and I'm sure in some mind there are those that might really want that. The reality of it is that you want a paycheck and you want to entertain. So I'm just hoping that his decision of creativity or creative is not the fact that he wants to be more into that title. We sat at Wrestling Talk and just gave Damian Priest his props. And we even said, hey, we think he should be in that level. But he ain't complaining because he's making himself show himself how good he is just by doing matches like he just did with Bad Bunny.
True.
So I'm
you're
hoping
right.
that's not. I'm just hoping that if anything, unless for some reason he can't do anything else with this character, I don't know what else he could be expecting. But I tell you this, WWE, it does have every right to not add him to the championship title if they threw a contract there and he's holding out because of something. They have to be careful on what, how they're going to start moving forward if you're playing with the idea that you may not want to be a part. It just comes down that way. So anyways.
Well, let me say this before you switch over, because
Yeah.
it will segue into one of our other topics when it pops up.
All right.
Sometimes people, it's not that they're not happy or they leave a bad organization. Sometimes good people leave good companies. It's because for them, they just want to be able to fulfill their innermost desires and what they feel their potential is. And maybe Drew is kind of experienced that for himself.
Yeah, it's possible. All right, let's go over to count two. And this one is Naomi explains what drove her to leave WWE and join Impact Wrestling. And that one's from comicbook.com. All right. This is how it reads. Former WWE superstar Naomi, now going by her real name Trinity, walked out of WWE alongside Sasha Banks back in May 2022. And then the pair were quickly suspended, stripped of their WWE's Women's Tag Team Championships, and chastised on TV for several weeks. But their futures in wrestling business remained a mystery for the rest of the year. Now, Banks made the jump to New Japan Pro Wrestling at the start of the year, while former SmackDown Women's Champion remained mostly out of the public spotlight. That finally changed during the latest Impact Wrestling TV tapings last week, which saw her debut for the promotion. She then won her first match for the company against Kylie King last Saturday. Now, while Banks has openly stated she won't explain what led to her and Naomi leaving the WWE, Trinity opted to open up a bit in an interview with Busted Open Radio on this past Tuesday. Now, while explaining she chose Impact out of multiple U.S.-based promotions, she said, "The doors are, quote, the doors are open for me everywhere, literally everywhere. But I truly feel like Impact is the best choice for me at this point in my life right now. And what I want to do, and to just be able to work with talent there, I feel that is where I'll be happiest and most utilized and really get to grow in ways that I feel that I need to right now on this wrestling journey. Had all of this stuff never happened, there's no way I would have took that leap, but the situation kind of forced me to figure it out," end quote. She then described her unhappiness during the final months of WWE. Quote, ultimately, I left that day because of the way I was talked to and handled. Everything kind of just broke me that day. It had nothing to do with anything else or anybody else. That was just it. I had to go. to go through all the backlash and all the negativity and the lies and rumors, and then to also kind of just feel lost, it broke me. It was probably the lowest I've ever felt in my life, but going through that made me rest and face it head on and figure out how to learn from this experience and grow from it. And just myself again in all of it, end quote. Now, Backstage reports released that throughout 2022 have indicated WWE wasn't interested in booking the pair to defend their tag titles on pay-per-view after winning them at WrestleMania 39, despite pitching a title defense for Hell in a Cell. The pair were instead going to be placed in separate single matches against two reigning women's champions, Bianca Belair and Ronda Rousey, and presumably lose. Frustrated with their concerns falling on deaf ears, the pair reportedly walked out just before an episode of Raw in May. All right. So, Simon Street, this is your topic here. What is your thoughts behind this article here?
I think it's kind of finally good to hear from Trinity, finally, because everybody was kind of hush hush shut, and that's one reason why I submitted this article. The other reason also too is why she chose Impact, and I want to kind of illuminate on that. I know we've talked about it many a times, on our shows. The prestige that people don't talk about with Impact Women's Wrestling / TNA Women's Wrestling, the heritage of really honoring women's wrestling. And when I mean honoring women's wrestling, I mean as doesn't matter what shape or size you are, doesn't matter what moniker you bring to the table. Impact has done a decent job. In fact, they've been the most consistent promotion, in my opinion, in history. From product to product, TNA days to Impact, with showcasing women's wrestling. We talk about how this is a copycat type of market. I truly and firmly will always say that WWE looked at what TNA was doing with the Knockouts division long time ago and said, we got to find a way to make this, because a lot of our Barbie dolls don't move their parts like that. I'm just going to put it out to you like that. And shout out to all those women that were the founding, Gail Kim, ODB, beautiful people. I mean, the list can go on. You know what I mean? Come on, y'all. Why would Trinity not pick Impact? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For much of the same reasons that I can't speak for her, but the same reason why Mercedes Moné decided to go to Japan. We talk about Cody Rhodes and what he did. Cody Rhodes went to where the real competition was hard-nosed. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not taking away what WWE did. WWE will polish you up and make you look good in a car wash. Everybody's car can look clean when they go in the car wash, but not everybody can change what they got under the hood. And that's what these people are doing, and that's why I wanted to bring it out there. I appreciate Trinity keeping it 100, being able to be still professional, even though her actions were not professional. I'm not going to take that away. You don't just walk off the job. But she said something that we kind of talked about with Drew McIntyre, and I can't speak for him either, but I do know as a human being that sometimes when you are very passionate and you believe in yourself and you don't shortchange yourself, sometimes that puts you in a situation like, yeah, the money's great. Yeah, the opportunity, the limelight, spotlight. But there's a part in me that really, really, really wants to grow. That really, really, really wants more than just the box you put me in. And I'm not going to fault any human being to want to go outside of their horizons of where they currently are. So for her, I appreciate her for her picking Impact Wrestling. It speaks a lot about her. It speaks a lot about Impact Wrestling as far as their women's division. Do you see what I'm saying? And I think it's a good choice. I'll probably be just showing up to Impact's house just out of nowhere with food and gifts. Next pay-per-view is popping up because I don't have access. But I know he got access. But I'll find a way to get access to see Trinity. So much kudos to her. I'll let you guys say your impressions on this.
All right, there now, Sin City Steve. We know a little bit more now about Trinity. She said, "Hey, that day, uh, I wasn't. I believe. Let me just do the quote here. Just go right to it. On that particular day, she said that she. Hold on. Bad choice. Doors open. Okay. It says, okay. She said she left that day and because of the way I was talked to and was handled. And it said it broke her that day. And it just had nothing to do with anything else and anybody else. And I guess things like that can happen, depending on how someone was talked to or treated. We all feel that all of us have a certain value to the work that we do. And, depending on how someone come at you, you could feel a certain way about it, Nevertheless, she said that was it. And now she's moved over to Impact. And what's your take on this whole thing?
So I think that we are starting to see more cross-pollination. And it's completely a good thing. You're starting to see names leaving WWE to go elsewhere. Just as you've always seen names leaving elsewhere to go to WWE.
Mm-hmm.
So this one was very interesting because obviously when it was all going down, there was a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah.
And it seems like everybody wanted to have their own angle to the story. And, everybody wanted to speculate on this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
But the fact is, if we take what Naomi said here at face value, it was literally just one day.
Yeah.
It was one day of her not being treated how she would want to be treated. So, I mean, that's extremely interesting because you can see somebody that, has the character and name recognition that she does. She's developed a brand in the business, so much so that when she made her debut on Impact, they largely had everything the same.
Yeah.
They changed the name, obviously,
Sure.
but I mean, they still had the black light. They still had, the same type of music. It's really interesting that now, we talked about, Drew in count number 1, and then, with Trinity in count number 2, Mercedes Moné. I think that you are starting to see people realize that, there's not just one main end path in the business.
Right.
And I think that that's vital because for so long, there was only one end game in the business. So for there to be alternatives now, it's great for us as fans, which is the area that we talk about the most because it directly affects us. But it's also amazing for the people that work in the business to now have an alternative in case they don't like where things are going at their current location.
And this brings back up CM Punk in a way where I know Michael sometimes get upset, and I've thought of it too, how you have a guy who sat out for 7+ years or around that time, and he's supposed to love wrestling, but instead of him saying, look, I'll take my talent to go over to Impact, or I would take my talent to even go to Ring of Honor, which was still around during that time. He just sat it out until, hey, Tony Khan decided to create a company, and then he gives them the money he's looking for, and that's the difference between you have, other guys that's going, look, I'll just take my talents elsewhere, because I love what I do. What we're naming here, what we're seeing is Mercedes, Trinity, And I guess we could throw Drew in there and say that they love performing. So if you love performing, we should see you doing that and not just sitting down and just saying, I'm gonna see what happens until someone can fulfill that. So that, so I thought I'd just kind of mention that because it always irritates me how we just never seen CM Punk do that. And he could have been building Impact up or building Ring of Honor up. Ring of Honor didn't have to never get to the point that they were at with his name and the caliber, So
But you also, and to kind of say that because you make a very interesting point about that. Why didn't Punk do that? Well, we just named 3 other superstars that don't have the caliber and the following of CM Punk. Not yet. Some for not yet. You know what I'm saying? It would be ridiculous. It'd be like,
but it doesn't matter if you have the caliber. The bottom line is that you're doing something because that's what you love to do. You want to do something. You want to not just want to be sitting there. You want to be in the profession that you love.
That is true. That is true. But Punk was even out, was pretty vocal in saying that. The reason why he sat out the first time from WWE is he fell out of love with the business, just in general. And so that's why he did things that went to Blackhawk games and stuff and did comic books and
stuff. How did he fall back in love with the business when he saw the dollar signs?
Well, let me put it to you this way. I think that in the end, yes, that was part of the equation. But I think in the beginning, he was itching for a way to get back. I think there's an itch when you have a love for something. But let's be honest, okay? Impact in Houston City, y'all are good at what y'all do in y'all personal jobs, right? You have gained the experience. You have gained your expertise, okay? So, yes, you're great at what you do prospectively. Would you downgrade yourself in such a manner? And that's no smirch between what Impact or ROH could have offered CM Punk to get paid literally not even less. You'd get paid less than half. I mean, come on, you can't be boo-boo the fool off of your passions because we ain't starving artists. Yeah, that's all I'm saying, man. I don't hate him for that, and I don't hate anybody for saying, hey, I don't care about the money. You know what I mean? And I'm just gonna go chase my dreams. That's cool too. But I'm gonna tell you right now, CM Punk, reason why he did that is because he knew Tony Khan was gonna pay him top dollar, and he thought that he was gonna go into a land to where he would have as much of leverage as possible versus a WWE contract. Let's be real. Let's look at that. You tell me right now, Impact, which one would you have more leverage?
With that, but I'm saying I think that's the difference between someone like myself than really caring about a CM Punk now, versus, the idea of me still caring about Trinity and Mercedes and, whatever Drew decide. I'll still follow them 3 in their careers and excited to see what they do. I don't care anything about CM Punk, and then of course he showed himself off, of course, and that after that pay-per-view event at the whatever that backstage
event. The press conference. Yeah. And that was bad business. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I mean, when you play yourself like that, you can have whatever perceptions or opinions about the business and how it's not run. But the minute that you take that frustration and you put it out on Front Street, you are now going against your own brand. Do you get what I'm saying? Like you can go backstage, like Drew probably backstage ready to swing that claymore at anything, pissed off. But you don't see him going out putting that laundry out on social media.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? And I'm not taking away from what Mercedes and Trinity did. What they did was wrong, right? They might have had good intentions, they had good reasons. You don't walk off your job like that not because of the job. Honestly, I say fuck the job. However, don't fuck yourself. Because at the end of the day, you have a professionalism and an integrity about yourself, regardless of what company you go to. Do you see what I'm saying? And you got to be able to handle it better because someone's always watching.
Well, look, I agree with all that you're saying, and I think, and I'll be honest with you, if Mercedes or her Trinity wanted to come back to WWE, I don't see Triple H saying, yeah, that's not going to happen.
For sure.
But I guess the whole point of this, what I'm saying is that we like the idea that these guys are going, listen, I'm not liking what's happening over here on the big ship, So we're gonna take our talents and now go on a smaller ship. Uh, and yeah. So, anyways, let's go. Let's just move. Let's go right into our 3 count. Hit the button.
3.
And this one is AEW Star says their time is coming to an end. So I am not going. This article is really big for not saying a whole lot because they're quoting quite a bit of Sean Spears here, but I'm just gonna run down a little bit, and then if you Simon Street or Sin City want to quote anything from what he was saying on here, feel free. So anyway, the title of this is that AEW Star says their time is coming to an end. This is from TJRWrestling.net. And it says that Sean Spears recently made his return to AEW after 6 months away, but says despite his big comeback, his time in the company is nearing its end. And then it says Spears returned to AEW recently after 6 months away, during which his son was born. And the Canadian Star had been a mainstay in AEW, competing on the company's first pay-per-view in 2019, and now involved in a storyline with Bullet Club, Gold, Jay White, and Juice Robinson. Now, speaking of WrestleZone, Sean Spears noted that he thinks his role in AEW is unlikely to change, so he's more interested in putting on, quote, banger matches, end quote. Spears explained his new outlook on the business and cautioned those making their way in the business to pick their battles with management, although at this point in his career, he says he's doing his best to make sure his voice is heard. And like I say, it goes right into a lot of stories here. This was supposed to be Matt Michaels' story, but let me just run right over to you, Sin City Steve. I'm sure you read up on this, and you're also a fan of AEW, and you might have your thoughts on Sean Spears here. What's your take on him coming back? And I guess the quote is, "Time is coming to an end." Interesting. What's your take, man?
Ultimately, I think that with Sean Spears, he's in his spot in the card. He's never going to be AEW World Champion. We all know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, could he be TNT champion? Maybe with some serious rehab. And I don't mean outside of the ring rehab. I mean,
Sure.
Everybody knows that he's coming down to the ring just to job out whenever he makes an appearance.
Right.
Initially, like, if you watch him come to the ring since he's been back, he'll get an initial pop from the crowd, and then it quickly dies off because they realize that, okay, well, Sean Spears is just coming out here to lose.
Right.
So he's a glorified jobber at this point. And I think that, I personally think that he could do extremely well if they were to shift him over to the Ring of Honor brand. But ultimately, will they do that? Will he want to do that? And as the story did mention, he just had the birth of his son. So it's one of those things that, his priorities might not be the same as what they were 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So of course he more than likely would want to be home or at least present for some of those formative years. And I don't blame him whatsoever. I don't blame him at all. If he's not going to be winning championships, and if he's got a major life change that just occurred, the money might be good, but at the end of the day, and Street, you mentioned this last segment, does it make you happy? And at this point, we can see that what makes him happy is just going out and having good matches, which is, of course, the best attitude to have. But of course, you can only go so far on that, with no promise of breaking through a glass ceiling or, over-indexing on your talent output. It's going to be an uphill climb if he sticks around and, continues to do this.
Yeah.
if he wants to be anything more than a glorified jobber. And I know it's sad to say, but that's just being real.
Yeah. Simon Street, part of the quote, part of the story I had read said that, that Spears explained his new outlook on the business and cautioned those making their way in the business to pick their battles with management. Although at this point in his career, he says he's doing his best to make sure his voice is heard, which is pretty interesting when you hear Sin City says, hey, look, he's still a glorified jobber. I don't know if his voice is being heard. Maybe unless that's what he's saying that he wants to be. I'm confused as to what. At least maybe I don't know. What's your take if you got a chance to read this on Spears? He seems like he's changing his thought process now that he's back. And what's your take?
Well, definitely shout out to Spears for coming of age, where I think a lot of us, even you two gentlemen, to realize you can't fight every battle if you're going at 10. You see what I did there just now with 10? But
Well played.
you realize as you get older that you pick and choose your battles, and you do a little bit more research. You figure out what your worth is, and you realize how much leverage you have, and you gain a little bit of more intellectual fearlessness. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that's what Spears is doing. And Spears is dropping pearls of wisdom, regardless of where he was on any card, whether it was WWE, NXT, or AEW, man. Telling people, pick and choose your battles with management. The reason why I like John Cena, as far as what he stands for and less about the Fruity Pebbles shit he wears, is because he said something that really is the almighty best advice you can ever get. Never give up. And this doesn't mean give up on a company or give up on an idea that you have in your head. Never take yourself out the game, because you never know when somebody is going to look at, okay, a jobber. Maybe this jobber might have something there that we didn't see for years and years and years, right? And I think a lot of that's where he is right now. I mean, you got to remember, guys, there's a lot of people even outside of the ring of wrestling that became successful in their late 30s, early 40s. People don't even think about. And I think that unfortunately we live in a world, particularly here in America, to where we look at the passion of our youth is where we need to have the biggest gains to star status. Well, let's be honest. We live in a world right now where a lot of the celebrities are young, dumb, and now they're broke. Why? Because they blew their load way too freaking close. Like, as soon as they had the money, they wasted it, or the opportunity, they wasted. Look how many people they pissed off because they had to have it their way. Sean Spears, for all intents and purposes, after reading this article, I have more found respect for him. He was somebody that I followed at NXT. I had a perfect 10 shirt, still got that some bitch sitting in my closet. And I would love to see him, much like a Cody Rhodes did, much like other people who left WWE, went on their journey, crafted some experience and better belief in themselves, and came back whole in the perspective of what they could do and what they can't do. And by golly, Sean Spears, I sure hope and pray that wherever it is, whether it's Impact Wrestling, whether it's WWE, whether you decide to go overseas, whatever you want to do, whatever it is that you know you are 100, brother, be a perfect 10, because I'm sure they're going to see it this time.
All right. There it is, y'all. We got through our 3 counts. We made it happen. And yeah. Thank everybody for hanging out with us. Appreciate it. We'll keep doing what we do. And we thank you for being a part of it, no matter if you're watching us live or you downloading the podcast. With that, we got our final thoughts. I'm going to start over with Simon Street. Let us know what's on your mind, and we'll go from there.
Real quick, I won't waste too much time. If you haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I would really caution you to go watch it, even if you're not big into superhero movies. It's just a very heartfelt type of movie. It was really, really good. Just when you thought Disney and Marvel couldn't find new ways to tell a story, They went and did it. And if you do some research and find out how this damn script didn't lift off the ground and this movie almost didn't happen, it makes it even more special. With that being said, I appreciate each and every one of y'all tuning in and listening to us knuckleheads. We appreciate it. We love what you do. This is really a big passion for us. A lot of us have people that we live with who don't want to hear us talk about wrestling anymore. So it's nice to know we have a platform and people come because they want to talk wrestling and hear us talk. With that, we talked about departures. I'd like to leave you guys with a little bit of a quote. There is a time for departure, even when there's no certain place to go.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Sin City Steve.
All right. Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, doing all the stuff that you guys do. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you. Also, very special shout out and thank you to all the brave men and women serving this country, whether you're doing it on lands foreign or domestic. Thank you for doing what you do so that we can do what we love to do. And last but not least, repsports.com, reppsports.com. Go there for all your pre-workout, weight loss, and general energy needs. Again, that's repsports.com. Use promo code Vegas at checkout and save yourself 15%.
Perfect. Appreciate that. With that, we will see you next time. Y'all take care, be safe, and be good to one another. Happy wrestling.